my review of the AC/DC album Power Up. It was released in November 2020. Their first album since Malcolm died, but their second with Stevie Young replacing him on rhythm guitar. And is produced by Brendan O'Brien like the past couple albums. So this one, I got it when it came out, and listened to it. The first time I listened to it, I thought it was good. It didn't immediately jump out at me. I thought that the production on it at the time sounded kind of weird to me, especially the production on Brian's vocals sounded a little weird to me. But I don't know. Today I was because I was thinking about it, and as I was listening to the other two albums that were produced by the same guy, I was trying to figure out which one of them was the best sounding, because to me, at the different times they came out, I kind of remembered them all sounding differently. And even when I was listening to them for the reviews, I remembered them sounding differently. But just before filming this, I was listening to different songs off of each one of them, trying to figure out which one sounded the best. And now I'm not so sure, because doing that they all sounded similar than what I thought. But at the same time, I still think this album sounds a little bit weirder production-wise than the other ones. At least that's been my impression every time I've listened to it. Other than when I was just doing that. Well, I mean, even just doing that, I could still kind of tell this album from the other ones a little bit. Because something just sounds a little bit weird in the vocal production. I mean, not sure what it is. Maybe it's just, I don't know, whatever new techniques they're using now or whatever, because I hear modern music that other people play, because I don't really listen to anything new, and to me the vocals always sound horrible. Whatever they're doing in the production these days, to me just sounds awful. Anyway, so this album, I kind of feel like if there's any AC/DC album that my opinion on is going to change on, it's going to be this one, because I've really only listened to it, probably, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 times. Feel like I'm pretty familiar with it at this point, but still not really sure where I think it fits in overall with their albums. The first song, I Realize, I think pretty good for an opener. I like the song, but it's not to me, not a super memorable track as far as an opening track, but pretty good still. I feel like every time I've listened to this album, too, my opinion on it changed a little bit. It's kind of up and down. Not the song in particular, but the album as a whole, and just the songs. My opinion on the album keep changing. But I feel like this time I've probably come away from the last couple listens of the album with a much more positive attitude than I did my first handful of listens. So I think it's starting to grow on me. Anyway, sorry, I'm kind of ranting. Second song, Rejection, is another one I like. Just thought it was a pretty good, solid AC/DC song, which is basically, I feel like most of this album is just either divided between kind of songs that are kind of different for them and songs that aren't. Which the first 2 songs are kind of your typical, just pretty good AC/DC songs. So is the third song, really, Shot in the Dark, which is the first single, which I like it a lot. It kind of was a song that reminded me a little bit of, I don't know, an earlier AC/DC song for some reason, the Bon era a little bit. I think it's the way the guitars were, or sounded it maybe. And I think that was definitely the right song for the first single off the album. But I don't know, I think it's a really good song. For some reason it just reminds me of their earlier kind of era, which they do a little bit on this album. Kind of with how they do some weirder songs on here too, which I was kind of wondering, did they maybe with the titles of this album want you to kind of draw a parallel to Power Age. Like, I don't know if that's something they would have thought about, but that's kind of something that I was like, this album, the first couple times I listened to them, like, it reminds me a little bit of like a later era attempt to do like a Power Age sort of thing. But I don't know, maybe not. So anyway, the fourth song, Through the Mist of Time, I think was also a single. It's one of the songs I said kind of seems like it's a little different for them, especially like lyrically and like subject wise. But I think it's a really good song. It really works. It definitely seems like a tribute to Malcolm, which is cool. And I would say it's probably my favorite song on the album. Yeah, that's probably my favorite song on the album. The fifth song, Kick You When You're Down, is another song I like. Not much to say about it, but just kind of, your typical cool AC/DC song. The sixth song, Witch's Spell, this song is one I actually really like, but I think for some reason to me, like, the beginning of it's a little awkward. Like, the first, like, couple lyrics when he starts singing sound like really awkward, and it seems kind of weird at first, and then but like once the song gets going, it's like really cool. And if it weren't for like how kind of awkward the beginning of it sounds, I would think it'd probably be my pick for the best song on the album. But kind of I think a really cool song, but it just seems to take a while to get going, to me at least. Seventh song, Demon Fire, is one of the faster songs on there. Cool, kind of. I don't know, it's probably one of the better songs on the album. Also, the eighth song, Wild Reputation, another cool song. Couldn't think much to say about some of these songs later on as they went down, because most of them, like I said, are just like your pretty good typical AC/DC songs. Same thing with No Man's Land. It's cool. Good song, but not much to say about it. 10th song, Systems Down, is basically the same. Another one that I like, but couldn't think of much to say about it. The 11th song, Money Shot, that one was, I thought, probably the weakest song on the album. It's just a little bit forgettable to me. And then the 12th song, Code Red, is kind of okay as a closer, but it's another one that I thought was a little bit weaker, just because, like, lyrically I find it kind of silly. But I mean, this is the AC/DC we're talking about, so the lyrics, it's whatever. But basically, I feel like the only weak songs are like the last two, and they're not even like bad or anything. It's just a little bit forgettable. For the one of them's a little bit forgettable, and the other one's just kind of a little silly. But anyway, I think it's a pretty solid album. I think I would give it probably a 3 out of 5. I'm still trying to figure out my whole like rating system, really. I was thinking about just completely getting rid of the rating system, but then I'm like, I kind of want to have a place to explain like how good I think the album is, but I basically having a hard time like deciding if like an AC/DC album that I give a 3 out of 5 to would be the same equivalent of like a Who album I gave a 3 out of 5 to, if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to figure out if, I don't know, I shouldn't be like ranting and trying to figure this out in the middle of a video. Anyway, so I think it's a good album. Not sure if I like it the most out of their more recent albums. Those are like the 3 most recent albums are the ones that I'm having the hardest time like thinking of where to place for when I do my ranking video next. But yeah, this album, 3 out of 5. Not sure where it fits in with AC/DC yet, as far as albums I like. But it's definitely not their worst, not their best. Makes me think they were like trying to make it sound like some of their earlier albums, and definitely seems like they're trying to trying to make it like a tribute to Malcolm with it, which is pretty cool. And I think it worked for the most part. I think it's cool that they at least did like another album after Rock or Bust, especially with how I don't know, that album was kind of like I like it and I think it sounds like pretty good, but I guess it's probably a little mediocre. And with all the, like the drama and stuff that happened on the tour, it's just really cool that these guys could all get back together and make another album, and especially to have it come out when it did was really cool. Um, so yeah, that's it. Pretty cool album. If you're an AC/DC fan, you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely should. But probably everybody has at this point.